Love is a powerful thing. In times of darkness, it provides a light. In pain, it can provide comfort. Submitting to love can create a lot of positive things, but it can also bring a lot of negative things. What once brought feelings of security can introduce feelings of fear, hurt, and the desire to love no more. As much as we wish that we could control it, we can't. We are at its disposal, and feeling helpless is one of the worst things ever. Where does love form in the human body? Do you love with your heart or with your mind? Something that has been debated for centuries, and a lot of people say you love with your heart. But if you love with your heart, when things go bad, how do you explain people losing their minds? We have all heard the saying that pictures can say a million words. When looking at this photograph, what can you see? To a person looking at this photograph with no context, the immediate thing you see is pain. Tears streaming down the face of an unknown woman. The eyes are the window to the soul. And if you look into these eyes, you will immediately notice that these eyes have a story to tell. Eyes that look as if they crave empathy, remorse. Eyes that look to have seen something dark, but also crave for you to feel their pain. The next thing you might ask yourself is, what was the chain of events that led up to this photograph being taken? Because naturally, we all want to know the backstory. I'm here to tell you that story, but when the story is complete, I can't guarantee how you will feel. But to begin the story, we must go back before this photograph, way in the time to when this story begins. March 14th, 1978. The world would make way for James Hargrove. James is described as a person who was very strong-minded, but although he had a strong personality, he also had a light side, a side that could bring a smile on your face. A guy who was known as entertainment. He was the person that could make everyone laugh. He was the life of the party. But although he was a guy who knew how to have fun, he was also a hard-working man. He brought laughter. But better than that, he was the type of guy who could provide stability. By the year of 2015, James Hargrove would be a 37-year-old man. It would be this year that he would meet Karin Stewart. When James first met Karin, it started off a mutual friendship. People who met each other and then after time began to grow fond of each other. And afterward, they would begin a full-blown relationship. But like any other situation, they would begin to have problems. And the relationship that they thought were to be written in the stars would become an on and off again relationship for the next 7 years. Summer of the year 2020. Everyone will always remember the year of 2020 because of so many events that occurred, with the major issue being COVID. Around the summer of 2020, James Hargrove would experience this hardship. He would in fact be diagnosed with COVID-19. And while he was going through this situation, Karin Stewart was there for him. She was there at his bedside, doing any and everything she could to make him feel comfortable in his time of need. But COVID would only be the beginning of James' problem, because for the next coming months, he would experience 2 heart attacks, a stroke, accompanied by kidney failure, And this whirlwind of disaster would finally end in him being paralyzed for a full year. By the end of the next year, which would be the year 2021, James Hargrove would have experienced all of this, but he had begun to settle back into a normal lifestyle. After his paralysis, he had to learn things over again, how to feed himself, how to walk. But a plus in this situation is that after being released from the hospital, he would move in with his then girlfriend Karin Stewart, and she would be there every step of the way. By the early months of 2022, James Hargrove would be 44 years old, and his girlfriend Karin Stewart would be 51. After being there for James Hargrove through his hardships, by now you would think everything in this relationship was great. But the outward appearance isn't always what it seems to be, because things were soon to change. Saturday, May 7th, 2022, 1:45 a.m. James Hargrove would arrive back at his home in Spring, Texas, in which he shared with his girlfriend Karin Stewart. But on this day, things would be a little different, because James Hargrove would be accompanied by another person, a woman, who still to this day is unidentified. James Hargrove and the unidentified woman would exit his car and walk inside of the home, where they would be awaited by Karin Stewart. But upon entering the home with this unknown woman, James Hargrove would sit Karin Stewart down and calmly explain to her that he was in love with this woman and he was going to be with her. After explaining that he had another girlfriend on the side in which he was in love with her, he asked Karin Stewart what they were going to do about the situation. Now, I'm guessing that he wanted both of them. But after explaining this to Karin Stewart, it doesn't go as he planned. Karin Stewart would then leave the living room, go into their bedroom, and retrieve a firearm, in which afterwards she comes out and then fires at James Hargrove. He would in fact be struck. Now, while this is going on, James Hargrove's new girlfriend has exited the home, running away in panic. After this situation occurs, police would be dispatched to the area, as well as EMS. They would arrive to 23600 Beatrice Root Drive, where they would find James Hargrove suffering from gunshot wounds, and afterwards, he would be rushed to the hospital. But after reaching the hospital, he would immediately be pronounced dead. Meanwhile, back at the home of James Hargrove and Karin Stewart, she's still present at the scene, and when questioned by the authorities, she would admit it all. She would explain exactly what happened that night and why she pulled the trigger, and afterwards, she would immediately be arrested and subsequently indicted on murder charges. Now you know the backstory to what led up to this photograph being taken. This is in fact the mugshot of Karin Stewart after the incident occurred. But what was thought to be a story fully explained was about to get a little more complicated. After the heartbreaking circumstances that took the life of James Hargrove transpired, another woman would come to the surface. A woman by the name of Sandra Hargrove. And yes, you heard the last name right. She was in fact married to James Hargrove. They had met in 2006 and then afterwards gotten married in 2009.
Sandra, tell me a little bit about this. What's going on with this case?
I honestly don't know. I just know I got the call that my husband had been shot, and they took him to Houston Northwest. He didn't make it. And now I'm here to try to figure out what's going on.
And the Sheriff's Department, and we reported that wife shoots husband, but you're saying that's not the case.
No,
Tell us about that.
I'm legally his wife. We've been married since 2009. We met 2006. We just separated in November, and I'm assuming maybe that's the person. I'm not positive because I've never met the person. I have no idea. My knowledge is she's a caregiver. That's all. That's the most I know about her.
Tell us about the contact that you had with him since in November.
I talk to him every other day. So I talk to him every other day. I haven't really seen him since my nephew's wedding, but I talk to him every other day. So but I had no idea about any of that. All this is new. All of it is new. So, shocked.
Why did you decide to come down here this morning?
Because that's my husband. He's still my husband.
Despite everything else, have to figure out where to go next. I mean, what to do next.
I mean, we have grandkids, we have kids, we have nieces and nephews. That's still my husband.
But to make matters worse, although Karin Stewart was the girlfriend of James Hargrove, they referred to each other as husband and wife, although it wasn't legal. In fact, during the interviews with police, that's how she referred to him. She called James her husband anytime his name was mentioned. This was a woman who was fully devoted to this man. She stood by him through COVID, heart attacks, even being paralyzed. And he was also in a coma during that period. And when he was awakened from that coma and opened his eyes, Karin Stewart was right there, waiting to greet him. She then nursed him back to good health, got him up walking, talking, feeding himself. And then when he was able to walk on his own again and be his own man, he brought home another girlfriend and told Karin Stewart, the woman who stood by his side, that he was in love with this woman and he was going to be with her. I imagine that this was totally heartbreaking for Karin Stewart. And in a fit of rage, this is why she did what she did. Now again, I want you to take a look at this photograph. What do you see? Now that you know the backstory to the photograph of the crying woman, you know that she's in pain. You know that before this occurred, she was on an emotional roller coaster. And at the end of that ride, a tragedy occurred. And by now, some of you may be even thinking that what she did to James Hargrove was wrong. But you might also feel empathy for her situation. But it's not that clean cut. As I explained, that James Hargrove met Karin Stewart in the year of 2015. But what I didn't mention is that in the year of 2015, Karin Stewart was also a married woman. And in the year of 2015, while she was falling in love with James Hargrove, she was still dealing with her husband. They hadn't separated yet, not officially until the end of the year 2016. Karin Stewart and her then husband would officially break up after Karin Stewart was arrested for assault. In the year of 2016, Karin Stewart and her then husband would be in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. While there, Karin Stewart would begin arguing with her husband about a set of keys, and this spiraled out of control. She would get so angry that not only would she spray lighter fluid in her husband's face, but she would take the keys to the truck, get inside of the truck, and then run her husband over. So now you know that this isn't the first time that Karin Stewart has showed rage after emotion. And you also know that Karin Stewart shot James Hargrove because he brought another woman to the house and she felt cheated on. But if we're going to be technical with things, Karin Stewart was a married woman at the time that she met James Hargrove. So many people may believe this was her karma.
A love triangle leaves a spring man dead. The Harris County Sheriff's Office saying an adult female, Karin Stewart, advised responding deputies that she shot her husband after he told her he was in love with another woman.
Love is a powerful thing. In times of darkness, it provides a light. In pain, it can provide comfort. Submitting to love can create a lot of positive things, but it can also bring a lot of negative things.
Karin Stewart is now in jail, charged with murder, bond set at $75,000.
What once brought feelings of security can introduce feelings of fear, hurt, and the desire to love no more. As much as we wish that we could control it, we can't. We are at its disposal, and feeling helpless is one of the worst things ever. Where does love form in the human body? Do you love with your heart or with your mind? Something that has been debated for centuries, and a lot of people say you love with your heart. But if you love with your heart, when things go bad, how do you explain people losing their minds?
Funeral services are set for this weekend. Stewart has been charged with felony murder. Reporting live, Tiffany Justice, Fox 26 News.
What Karin Stewart did to James Hargrove will never be justified. I understand that people go through things, and I understand that at that moment of time, Karin Stewart was hurt, very hurt. But that doesn't justify what she did. But at this moment of time, I want to know how you guys feel. How do you feel about this situation? Feel free to leave your complete thoughts. I honestly want to know how you guys feel. And don't hold anything back. Rest in peace, James Hargrove. Thank you for being a light for others.